Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about solid geometry. When we talk about solid geometry, we are talking about three-dimensional shapes. And as you can see here, I have this rectangular box type object down here, and there's a couple of vocabulary words that go along with three-dimensional geometry. First of all, if I'm looking at the flat side of a box or the flat side of a three-dimensional shape, that's what we call a face. Okay, and so that's going to be that flat side or the flat top or bottom of one of these three-dimensional objects. The other piece that we have to consider is one of these places where two faces come together, and we're going to call that an edge. And of course, these triangles, these sharp corners that are formed, these are going to be called vertices or a vertex. Okay, and so these three-dimensional figures have those attributes to them: faces, edges, and vertices. When I scroll down here, I'm really just going to be looking at specific types of three-dimensional figures. The first one is called a prism. Now, a prism we can think of as having just these polygon faces. Okay, it's formed by two parallel congruent polygonal faces called bases connected by faces that are parallelograms. And so in green here, these two things, these are bases. Okay, so this one has these two triangle bases, and this is going to be called a triangular prism, because the rest of the faces are rectangles. So this back one is going to be a rectangle, this one facing us is going to be the rectangle, and the one facing back that way is going to be a rectangle as well. And so the faces are basically the odd men out. They're the ones that aren't rectangles. And so that's a triangular prism. A cylinder is the next piece. You may think of a cylinder as like a column or a tin can. It's formed by two parallel congruent circular bases, and so in this case this circle is going to be the base, and if I was going to be able to see through this shape, this would also be one of the bases, and so these are the bases. And really this outside piece is just a long rectangle that wraps around. Okay, it's a curved surface. So that would be like a tin can or something. When I think of a pyramid, we're thinking like the Great Pyramid of Giza. Alright, and so a pyramid is formed by a polygonal base. So this, in this case, is the base. Okay, and so with this this polygon at the bottom, that's the base. Well, the triangular faces, which are the sides, meet at a common vertex. So this is where they all meet up. This is the vertex. And so this is going to be called a triangular pyramid, because we're naming it by that base. Just like with the prism, we're going to name it by its base. The base is that odd man out. Okay, and so this is a triangular pyramid. They can come in all shapes and sizes. They can come in like a pentagonal pyramid, a hexagonal pyramid, a square pyramid, a rectangular pyramid, things like that. A cone, we're thinking ice cream cone. We're thinking one of those, dunce caps kind of a thing. It's got a circular base. And so this cone has a base down here, okay? And it also has a vertex up at the top here. And that's the basics of how we're going to name these objects, okay? And so it's important to remember what the sides look like. So let's just review quickly kind of what's going on here, okay? Faces, edges, and vertices, not really that big of a deal. Triangular prism has triangular bases. They're the ones that are not rectangles. And that cylinder has circles at the top and bottom. The pyramid has a base that's a polygon and triangular sides, and a cone has that circular bottom and has a vertex. Okay, if you'll look through the next piece of paper on your note guide, it has some very specific examples of each of these using real life examples. It's going to look sideways, but I think you'll see that there is a lot of validity to what's going on here. I was trying to see if I could flip it. I really can't. But if you want to look through those, those are specific examples. Let's classify these three things and then we'll be done. Like I said before, here we have really, something that's got a circle on the top, okay, and it would have a circle on the bottom. And so these are going to be what we call cylinders. Probably couldn't have picked a worse color of mustard there. I'm specifically looking at these guys here, okay. They've got these circular bases and then they go up. Well, they're ice cream cones, okay. They're called cones because they have that circular base and they come up to a vertex. And if I look at C, it has a rectangular side showing rectangle, and it's got a triangle on the end. So this is going to be the base. And so if it has triangular bases and rectangular sides, it's going to be a triangular prism. Okay, it's a prism because it has those rectangles on the sides. Guys, thanks for watching. That's the basics of three-dimensional shapes. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about net diagrams. We're going to talk about cutting shapes and things like that. All right, so that's the basics of solid geometry. We'll see you next time.